The waiter humiliated Vanessa Johnson, unaware that she owned the restaurant. His arrogance sparked a scandal that changed their lives forever. What happened next will shock even the most seasoned observers. But let's start from the very beginning. At chef's table, the ambience exuded sophistication and prestige. Among the diners at a window-side table sat Vanessa Johnson, an elegant black woman in her 40s, with impeccably styled hair and a sharp business suit. Her confidence and refined demeanor stood out, but to the staff, she appeared to be just another guest. The waiter, Jason Miller, approached her table with casual indifference. A young man with a facade of confidence, he took her order mechanically, barely glancing at her and skipping the courtesy expected at such an establishment. When Vanessa finished her meal, she left a 10% tip, a subtle statement of dissatisfaction with the service. However, upon seeing the amount, Jason couldn't contain his frustration. He returned to her table and blurted loudly, "With tips like this, you'd be better off eating somewhere less upscale." Tension filled the dining room. Several guests exchanged glances, while Vanessa, maintaining her composure, looked up at Jason. "Excuse me, what did you just say?" she asked. Jason, instead of apologizing, smirked and added, "Just a suggestion. We don't accept pennies here." Without a word, Vanessa picked up her bag, stood, and locked eyes with Jason. "Good luck with your personal growth," she said coolly before walking out. Her calm demeanor left Jason flustered. As she exited, murmurs replaced the heavy silence in the dining room. Jason, however, felt no remorse. Instead, he boasted to his colleagues. "Some people think they're high class but can't even tip properly. Hilarious, right?" he said with a loud laugh. His co-workers chuckled awkwardly, uneasy about his behavior. The restaurant's manager, Catherine Evans, had been observing the scene. Approaching Jason, she warned, "This kind of talk is unacceptable. Watch your tone with guests, or there will be consequences." Jason merely shrugged, unaware that his behavior was about to trigger a series of dramatic events. The next day at the restaurant, everything seemed normal. Jason carried on, cracking sarcastic comments to his colleagues, confident that the incident with Vanessa was behind him. But by evening, a group entered the restaurant. An elegant woman in a suit, her lawyer, and two representatives from the management company. They headed straight to the manager's office. It was Vanessa Johnson, but this time not as a customer. She was revealed to be co-owner of Chef's Table. Manager Catherine Evans turned pale as Vanessa placed legal documents on the desk. "Ms. Johnson, I didn't know you," Catherine stammered, but Vanessa silenced her with a gesture. "You weren't supposed to know. My goal has always been to uphold the highest standards here, not flaunt my ownership. But yesterday's incident made it clear that there are issues being overlooked," Vanessa said firmly. She recounted the previous evening's rude encounter, presented complaints from other customers about Jason's behavior over the past months, and demanded immediate action. "This behavior is not just unacceptable. It tarnishes the reputation of the establishment I've built from the ground up," she concluded. Catherine nodded nervously, checking records. Vanessa's lawyer added, "Your task now isn't just disciplinary action. We insist on implementing strict training standards for staff, including customer service and bias awareness programs." Meanwhile, in the dining area, Jason noticed odd glances from his co-workers and sensed a shift in the atmosphere. When Catherine called him into the office, he entered with his usual swagger, but froze upon seeing Vanessa. "You," he began, only to be cut off coldly by her. "Sit down." Vanessa explained who she was and detailed his misconduct. Jason tried to defend himself, but each excuse was dismantled with evidence. Finally, Vanessa said, "You're temporarily suspended. Your future here will be determined after an internal investigation." As Jason left the office, his confidence shattered. His co-workers avoided eye contact, already aware that he had lost any protection. Vanessa, ensuring disciplinary measures were underway, took control of the situation, determined to restore the restaurant's reputation. The next step was hers to take. Despite his suspension, Jason hoped the matter would blow over. However, the next day he received a notice of an internal investigation against him. The news spread quickly, and co-workers who had endured his behavior began to voice their relief. "Finally," they whispered, recalling his rudeness to both customers and colleagues. Vanessa wasted no time initiating reforms. At a staff meeting, she introduced a new code of conduct, including mandatory customer service and bias training. "This restaurant was designed to make every guest feel welcome. We will no longer tolerate rudeness or discrimination," she stated firmly. Some employees welcomed the changes as an opportunity for growth. Others, including Catherine, appeared uneasy. "This might upset some of our older clients," Catherine hesitated to say. Vanessa was unwavering. "If they support such behavior, we don't need them as customers." Jason, meanwhile, sought support from a regular customer, a wealthy businessman with whom he had often been friendly. But when the man learned of the incident, he refused to intervene. "You brought this on yourself, kid. I won't be part of it." Abandoned by his allies, Jason posted a video online, calling his suspension unjust and accusing management of overreacting. However, viewers quickly dissected his actions, reminding him that disrespect and bias have no place in hospitality. Amid the controversy, the restaurant gained unexpected attention. Many applauded Vanessa's stance and decisive actions, boosting the establishment's reputation among those who valued ethical standards. Jason, on the other hand, found himself not only jobless, but also without support. Realizing the damage he had caused, he began reflecting on how to rebuild his reputation. But it seemed too late. Vanessa, observing these developments, knew the changes had just begun. Her goal was clear. Chef's Table would become a beacon for justice in business. Weeks after the reforms began, the atmosphere at Chef's Table had transformed. The staff gathered in the main dining area for a final meeting, led by Vanessa. The air was tense as employees awaited the results of the internal investigation. Dressed in a sharp suit, Vanessa stood before them, her expression resolute. "Yesterday, we concluded our review of complaints, customer feedback, and staff behavior. The findings are troubling. Numerous errors have undermined this establishment's reputation. Today, we draw a line." The first item on the agenda was Jason Miller. Summoned before the group, he stood under their scrutinizing gazes. Vanessa looked him in the eye and declared, "We've determined that your behavior is incompatible with our values. You humiliated customers, disrupted team dynamics, and generated complaints. You're terminated." Jason paled but tried to argue. "You're blowing this out of proportion. All I did was speak the truth to a stingy customer. Is that a crime?" "Your truth caused harm to both the business and, more importantly, to someone deserving of respect," Vanessa replied icily. "You're now accountable for your actions." Jason glared at her before scanning the room, hoping for support. But his co-workers avoided his gaze. Realizing he was alone, he stormed out, muttering, "Let's see how long you last with these ideals." Following the meeting, Vanessa focused on fully revamping the restaurant's culture. Chef's Table would not just be a place for fine dining, but a model of equitable treatment for all guests. Over the next week, training programs were implemented to improve service and dismantle biases. Employees, who had previously stayed silent about problems, began sharing their experiences openly. "I used to think these were just workplace issues, but now I see silence makes us complicit," admitted senior waiter Michael, who had avoided confronting Jason's behavior. The restaurant's story began trending on social media. Vanessa gave an interview to a local newspaper, candidly discussing the reforms. "We're changing not just the rules, but the mindset. Guests should feel respected, and staff should feel proud of where they work." While some criticized her strict approach, the narrative shifted when glowing reviews from new customers emerged online. "It's refreshing to see a restaurant prioritizing ethics alongside excellence," one post read. Soon, Chef's Table attracted not only food enthusiasts, but also those inspired by its mission. Regular patrons returned, acknowledging the positive changes. A once skeptical client remarked, "At first I doubted coming back, but the transformation is clear. Well done." As the team grew more cohesive and the dining area thrived with energy, Vanessa observed the bustling scene with quiet pride. Catherine approached her with gratitude, saying, You were right. These changes made us better. Vanessa smiled. Chef's table had become a symbol of progress, proving that standing for justice can lead to success even if the journey is challenging.